Hi, I am Chris 9017, and here is my garden railroad here at my vacation mansion here on the Big Island of Hawaii. This is the Big Island Pacific Railway, and it's home to 5 steam locomotives, 3 040s, a 440, and a 260. At the present time, all 3 040s are operational, and my 040s are Casey Jr., who is right here. The locomotive was originally an 044, but the trailing truck kept coming off the track, so I removed it, and now it doesn't seem to be a problem, and she runs pretty well. My other 040 is my Grizzly Flats Railroad Chloe. She was originally an 042, but she also had a problem with the trailing truck coming off the track, so I took that off, and it seems to be less of a problem for her. The locomotive does tend to pop wheelies due to a lack of weight in the front, but I'm figuring out ways to take care of that. And I know the engine does need a new pilot, since she has pretty much been on the ground a lot and has damaged her old pilot, which has required me to glue it back together. So yeah, I'm looking into repair that. And also, if you look carefully in here, what you see in the load in the bunker is not actual wood. It's not a wood load at all. It's actual authentic sugarcane. The reason why I'm using sugarcane here is because on the islands of Hawaii, there was no way to pretty much get any coals unless you get it shipped all the way from West Virginia, and that was too expensive because there weren't any coal mines here in Hawaii. And also, most railroads, I do know the Lahaina, Kalaupali, and Pacific, they use oil, but the oil has to be shipped, and that is pretty expensive too. And railroads didn't want to bother with paying the expenses, and they couldn't cut down their trees since it's pretty sacred, and cutting those trees down would be bad luck here in Hawaii. So they pretty much looked into what an abundant fuel they had around here, and that was sugarcane. So they pretty much fueled their engines up with sugarcane here in Hawaii, since that seemed to work pretty well. And because of that, I put sugarcane in my engines. Here's my other engine. She was originally an 040 to begin with. She was actually originally an LGB Staines, which is the locomotive that pretty much represents LGB. The locomotive was kitbashed by a friend who built this layout. I'm not going to say his name to respect his privacy, but he's been a friend of the family for years and enjoys pretty much constructing model railroads for indoors and outdoors, and he's really good at kit bashing. This engine was sort of kit bashed to look like a plantation engine. The cab was torn off, so it's sort of an open air engine like you would see on a typical sugarcane engine you'd see like elsewhere in Australia. Sorry for shaking there. Like you'd see in Australia, New Zealand, and some other parts of Hawaii. And you see here, she's got a large spark arrestor, 2 side tanks, and she's got an outside operating Stevenson valve gear. It's not a Walschaerts, it's actually an outside Stevenson, which is pretty neat. And right here is the engineer and his fireman. And you can see his throttle, his Johnson bar, and an air brake stand. And right here is Staines' sugarcane load. And what she's hauling right here are cars full of ethanol, or small tanks full of ethanol, which comes from sugarcane, which is used for fuel here. And now I'll show you my main primary locomotive. This locomotive right here is Freya. She is a 260 Mogul that is a replica of an 1875 locomotive that was built by Baldwin. She is the main workhorse of the railroad and is pretty much the most important locomotive here on the railroad. She is in charge of handling the freight operations and is pretty much the largest and most powerful locomotive here on the railroad, and is pretty much the only engine capable of hauling a full train. My other locomotive, which is the 5th locomotive, is a 440 American. She's also made by Bachmann, like Freya, and she also bears a name. Her name is Chi Elda, which is, which are names from the Persicums from Chobits, which I named after since I had a special thing for him. So I decided to name him these engines after those Persicums. Well, that engine is currently back in San Mateo for repairs, since it had a problem with the chuff switcher in the locomotive, so it broke. So I'm planning on getting it replaced and placed inside on one of the tender axles. Yeah. Basically, I do most of my repairs over in San Mateo, since I don't have the turning facility and all the tools I need over here. I do have plenty of tools, but not enough. Not enough over here to do a full ground-up rebuild for these locomotives. Since when owning a garden railroad, these engines require a lot of maintenance and time. So yeah, they're in constantly need of rebuilds. So I'll show you some parts of the layout. The train starts here. It will then steam up out of the siding. It then goes around this curve. After going around a curve, it enters the primeval world, which is land of the dinosaurs. This was inspired off the Disneyland Railroad in the last leg of the diorama. She then eases over a wooden trestle and continues climbing through the primeval world. And here's the exciting climax of it, which is the fierce battle between the T-Rex and the Stegosaurus, just like you see on the Disneyland Railroad. And right there you see on the track is a bunch of sand, since the locomotive tends to slip. So the only way for it to gain traction is to put sand on the rails, but not to put too much, because too much can mess up your electrical contact. And right here you see is a king cobra, which strikes at the train, and right there is a subterranean lava dragon, which would sort of be suitable for coming out of a volcano. The train then goes over Redwood Viaduct, which is a pretty long redwood trestle. It then goes around this curve, goes over the small bridge, it passes through this zoo right here, and then heads right back where we started. Only got one more minute to show you, but if you're curious to what this leg takes you to, it takes you right here to two sidings where I keep the sugarcane locomotives, and this takes you to a sugarcane field. So this is like a sugarcane train, like the one on Maui, and the other sugarcane trains they had here in Hawaii. So there's two lines here. There's a main line that does most of the freight hauling and passenger hauling, and there's the sugarcane train. And Staines and Chloe are in charge for that, while Freya and Casey Jr. pretty much run on the main line. I've only got 15 more seconds here, so I'll show you a little bit more while I can. Well, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. This is Chris 9017. Happy New Year.